Hey guys, well here I am in the last week of my 5th semester, just 2 semesters to go in my nurse practitioner program with of course an emphasis in PMHNP, and I've started to do something that I think might surprise you. I'm going to tell you all about it here in just a minute. Hey, welcome back. My name is Rick. I'm a registered nurse and a PMHNP student. Finishing the 5th semester of my program, 2 more semesters to go before I graduate. On my channel, I talk about my experiences, what I'm learning, what's working, what's not working, and sharing them with you so that you have a great experience in your nurse practitioner program. So I'm doing something that might be a little unexpected for you. And let me give you a little background first. You know, for many years, almost 15 years, I owned and operated an executive search company before I ever got into nursing. It was a company that specialized in recruiting nurses and doctors primarily to work for insurance companies. So I learned a lot about finding a job, about coaching people to find a job, about what works, what doesn't work, talking with employers all the time about what they're looking for, what they see and want in applicants, and it really gave me a lot of great insight into how to go about searching for a job. And what I'm doing now is I'm starting to leverage that information to begin my job search. Now you might say, hey Rick, you are 7 months away from graduating, more or less passing your boards, getting your NPI number, getting registered with the DEA. Why are you looking for a job now? Well, let's be realistic. I'm probably not going to get any offers right now, but that's not the purpose of what I'm trying to do. Now, there are some concerns I have about searching for a job, and these are probably concerns that you might run into as well. One of the reasons I picked psychiatric nurse practitioner is because there is such a need for psychiatric providers. There is such a need for PMHNPs. And at least in my area, the family nurse practitioner marketplace is just oversaturated. And I knew there would be more opportunities for me in psychiatric nurse practitioner work than there would be in anything else. But like I said, I do have concerns. I think the word is out about psychiatric nurse practitioner because I'm seeing more and more people coming into the marketplace. It's not nearly as competitive today as it might be for family nurse practitioner, but it's getting to that point. And another concern I have is, hey, let's be transparent. I'm a bit older than most people coming out of nurse practitioner school. Ageism is a real factor in the marketplace. While I don't think it's as big of a deal in the clinical side of healthcare, it is going to be something I'm going to have to overcome. It's going to be something that I'm going to have to be facing, and it's probably something that's going to eliminate me from a job or two. But that's another reason why I want to get an early start in finding that next job. And the third concern I have is I'm at a point in my life and in my career where I can choose to be very particular about the nurse practitioner job I accept. I'm willing to wait a while until the right position becomes available and I get an offer for that position. So I'm not going to just take the first thing that crosses my opportunity. I'm going to be very particular about which job I take. So all of that combined really has caused me to start thinking now about how I'm going to do this job search and the kind of job that I might find and accept. So here are some of the things that I'm doing right now. I'm going to give you 4 things that I'm doing 7 months away from even thinking about looking for a job that are going to help me be very successful in my job search. Number 1 is I'm doing a self-assessment. Now, in terms of looking for a nurse practitioner job, the self-assessment that I am doing is not just limited to my own personal strengths, what I consider my weaknesses, my passions, my interests. I'm really doing a self-assessment that includes the goals that I have that I want to achieve in my nurse practitioner career, and I'm doing a self-assessment on the kinds of positions that I really want to work in. This is a big move for me, and I would suspect it's a big move for anybody in the going into becoming a nurse practitioner. So I am being very, very careful and doing a very, very thorough self-assessment about what's going to work for me and what's not going to work for me. It's kind of like when I started out of nursing school. I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I was darn sure about the kind of nursing I did not want to do. So I would encourage you now, regardless of where you are in your nurse practitioner program, is to really start doing a good assessment of your clinical experiences. What you want to do, get specific. What kind of work do you want to do? And contrast that with what you think is going to be available in your area. Now, the second thing that I am doing and starting right now, of course, I'm really not starting it. I've always kind of done this, but really starting it in the context of a job search is networking. Now, let me tell you, the jobs that are advertised are just the tip of the iceberg of actual jobs that are available. More jobs are found through networking than they are through applying online or on company websites. I know this for a fact. I saw it. Heck, as a recruiter, I was pretty much a professional networker. I was finding companies that wanted specific positions filled, and I was networking with a huge audience of potential candidates for that position. So networking is very, very important. So there are a lot of different ways that you can network, and here are some of the ways that I'm doing it. Number one, I am attending some of the professional conferences, professional organizations that are going on in my area. You don't have to travel across the country to do this. There are going to be events in your area, and you need to go to those things. You need to have a presence there, meet people, collect business cards. These are all potential connections to potential employers that you can leverage. But the main thing is, when you make these connections, stay in contact with them. Let them know, every 6 weeks or so, kind of where you are with things. Don't meet somebody, shake their hand, get their card, and then they don't hear from you again for another year. That's not networking. We were fortunate here in the Nashville area last fall to have Psych Congress, which is one of the big conferences in the psychiatric field. I went to that and made tons of connections at the exhibit hall for potential employers, and I have maintained a connection with them just through some email messages and keeping my name at least on their radar. And don't forget online platforms. The premier job networking platform is LinkedIn. And if you don't have a presence on LinkedIn, you are missing out on a world of potential opportunity. That's how I found all my preceptors, was through LinkedIn. That's how I found the current nursing job that I am in right now, is through LinkedIn. And that's how you're going to make a lot of connections in your chosen specialty for potential employment opportunities, is through LinkedIn. Now, if you're not on LinkedIn, or you've maybe thrown up a profile years ago and never done anything with it, that needs to change. You need to create a profile and be a part of it. And I'll talk about that here in just a minute. I've also created a potential resource for you to use. If you're a member of our community, you'll have free access to that. You can download it. I'll put a link in the description that you can access to join our community and download and get this kind of a checklist. In fact, I'm doing a checklist for this entire process that I'm using right now that you might want to try yourself. So now let's talk about the third thing that I'm doing to prepare for my job search right now. And that is preparing my resume and preparing my LinkedIn profile. So we were just talking about LinkedIn. So on my resume, I want to make sure that I have updated it. If you haven't done anything with your resume in the past year or so, you probably need to update it. You've got certifications, you've got licensure, you've got jobs, and maybe you've moved a job or two since the time that you did your resume. You've got to update your education. If now's a good time to start looking for references. I'm not a big fan of putting references on resumes, They're going to ask for those anyway. But go ahead and start reaching out and asking people that when you apply for a position, could they be used as a potential reference? Also think about the format of your resume. I believe there's a very specific format. You should have all of your contact information on there. Your name, your address, phone number, email address. Make sure it's a professional looking email address. Make sure you have a summary of your experience in the very top third of your resume. And in that, you want to put keywords that employers might search for a nurse practitioner. Next, you want to list your education, then list your clinical experience, list specific skills that you have that might be unique to the nurse practitioner specialty that you're going into, as well as list all of your jobs that you've had. Now, when it comes to your LinkedIn profile, and that's a little bit of an art form in and of itself. I'll provide a resource in the description if you want to bone up on LinkedIn. And I think LinkedIn has a lot of free training that you can access on their site as well. But the profile on LinkedIn has got to look really, really good. You need a professional headshot. You need a headline that clearly and succinctly engages the viewer and tells exactly what you're about. You need to have a summary of who you are and how you help people, a summary of your work experience, your skills, and most importantly, endorsements from other LinkedIn users and recommendations from people you've either worked with or have worked for in the past. Now, I don't want you to fool yourself. Any job that you apply to, they are going to go on LinkedIn and look for you in your profile. If your profile is very informal, hey, that says something. If there's no profile, if you have no presence on LinkedIn, then, well, that's a little telling as well in and of itself. The other thing that you should probably start doing early before you ever apply to a job is to go through and clean up any social media that you have. Again, not only are they going to check LinkedIn, they're going to check all social media to see what you've posted. And I know of people who have lost jobs because of something they posted in the past. You might say, hey, that's not fair, and maybe it's not. But you know what? It's going to happen, and there's not much you can do about it. So if you've got anything controversial, if you've got anything risque, anything that you really don't want your potential employers knowing on social media, now is the time to get rid of it. And lastly, number 4 is about continuing education and certifications. You really have to make sure this stuff is up to date before you apply for a job. Nobody wants to hire somebody whose certification for BLS is going to expire 2 weeks after they start. Make sure that stuff is taken care of, or at least be on top of it so you know what has to be done when the time comes. The other thing is start thinking about the whole certification process for your nurse practitioner specialty. When do you plan to take the certification test, the board exam, after you graduate? Is it going to be right away? You're going to wait a couple of months and go through a prep course? Whatever it is, that's all going to affect, to some degree, the timing of when you look for a job. I plan to take mine as soon as I graduate as I can. In fact, one of my preceptors told me they took their board before they even graduated. And if I can get away with that, I'm certainly going to do that as well. So all of that is behind me. All of that is up to date by the time I start thinking about who do I want to go after as an employer. And this is kind of a fifth or maybe a bonus session that maybe a bonus activity that you could do that I didn't talk about before. And that is start looking at the potential employers in your area or where you're going to work as a nurse practitioner. Find out who do you already know that works there and assess that company. Is it even a company you would want to work for? If not, don't worry about it. Move it off the board and just focus on the companies that you want to work for. And now is the time to figure that out before you start getting involved in application processes and interviewing processes. Okay, so what should you do now? Well, I really want to encourage you to start thinking about your own self-assessment. What are you going to bring to the table to a potential employer? What do you want in a potential employer? What are your goals when you start going to work? The second thing that you can do now is start updating that resume and get to work on that LinkedIn profile. Third thing you can start doing is networking. Use LinkedIn as a resource. Reach out through LinkedIn to connect with other nurse practitioners in your specialty. Connect with the leadership of potential employers in your nurse practitioner specialty, and look for conferences or events that are related to your nurse practitioner specialty that will be happening in your area between now and when you graduate, and go to them. And finally, one of the things that you can do is to start researching either through your school or your state board of nursing just exactly what are the requirements you're going to have to meet before you can start working as a nurse practitioner. Understand what those are and get to work on them now. And don't forget, if you want to download my checklist on getting your resume up to date and getting your LinkedIn profile up to date, just click in the link below, join our community. You'll have instant access to that checklist, as well as all of the other resources that I have made available to our nurse practitioner student community based on my experience and things others have shared with me. I think you'll want to get involved with that. Hey, if you like what this video's been about, if you like this channel, please go ahead and think about subscribing. Click the thumbs up button on there. You can ring the bell. That way you'll be notified of any video that I post. I usually post a video every couple of weeks. And hey, you can get this done. Think about the things I've said. Like everything, take the best or leave the rest. You're awesome. I know you can do this. And comment below with any questions about anything I've said. I read all the comments and we'll respond. Until the next video, I hope you're doing well, and we'll look forward to it.